Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Farmer Pesticide Training course. My name is Jeff LePage. I've been teaching this course for, well, it's probably over 10 years now. So I'm sure many of you are redoing this for the, who knows, third, fourth time, maybe. Well, maybe not fourth, maybe third. So it's the same format. We're going to be going through the Farmer Pesticide Core, which consists of 7 modules, and then we'll be doing the stored grain module and exterior rodent module. So there's 9 modules in total. For those of you who have never taken this before from me, there will be 3 exams. So we'll go through the Farmer Pesticide Core, and then there'll be an exam on that. And then after that, we will go through the stored grain and the exterior rodent, and there'll be a quiz for each one of those. Those of you who are renewing, the Farmer Pesticide Core will be good, a review of information. However, retaking that exam is not required. However, the quizzes for the stored grain and the exterior rodent will be required to take again. So without any further ado, we'll get started. So you should all have a book. If you didn't pick up a book from the county office or have a book from the last time you've taken this course, you can access the modules online. If you simply Google Farmer Pesticide Course modules to that effect, and that will take you to the Alberta website where you can access those modules. All right, so we'll get started with Module 1. This actually here is the link for the website. So you can type that in, and that should take you to the modules on the website. All right, so Module 1, pesticides. So these are the topics we are going to cover in this module. We're going to define what a pesticide is. So the definition of a pesticide. We'll identify the different types of pesticide formulations, understand adjuvants and their purpose, describe how pesticides work, understand the symbols and information on a pesticide label, understand the type of information contained in a material safety data sheet, and be aware of pesticide compatibility. So, what is a pesticide? The simple definition, and the definition you need to know for this course, is pesticide is a material or substance that kills, prevents, and repels unwanted organisms. Okay, so you're going to be asked that definition, and that's what you need to answer. Misuse of pesticides can contaminate water, soil, kill fish, birds, bees, livestock, pets, or other animals, contaminate food, destroy desirable plants and crops, harm people, etc. So the key word here is misuse. So when we follow the label, the instructions and directions, and we use the pesticide as it's supposed to be used, it's safe and it prevents no real hazards. So it's the misuse that causes problems. Pesticide formulation. So pesticides contain one or more active ingredients and formulants. You need to know these definitions. So the active ingredient is the component that causes the desired effect on the pest. And formulants, also known as inert ingredients, are all the other materials in a pesticide formulation. Okay. Most pesticides are sold as prepared formulations and can be in solid form, liquid form, or gas form. The aluminum phosphine, which most of you are here to purchase, you buy it in a solid form, but once it's administered and it reacts to the atmosphere and the temperature and moisture, it becomes a gas. So, however, you do buy it in a solid form. Formulants include carriers, wetting agents, extenders, and emulsifiers. These substances often present no particular health or environmental hazard. However, formulants that are known to cause severe allergic reactions must also be listed on the label along with a warning statement. So normally the label won't list all of the ingredients in all the formulants unless they're known to cause allergic reaction. Okay, and then the label will mention those. So when you're selecting a formulation, you need to consider the following. You need to choose the formulation that will be the most effective and minimize potential adverse effects. So in your books on page 4, there's a chart here that lists formulation types, like I said, liquids, solids, gases. Okay, so depending on what it is you're doing, you might need to do a little of your own research into what will be effective. Like I say, if most of you are here to purchase aluminum phosphine, then we have the formulation on those, or it's a solid and will convert to a gas when applied. Adjuvants are materials that are added to a spray formulation to improve the safety or effectiveness of the active ingredient. Okay, so the label will determine and will tell you if adjuvants can or can't be used. So adjuvants are to only be used according to the label directions. Okay. How pesticides work. So what happens once the pesticide enters the body, and we're going to talk about the route of entry. Okay, this refers to how it enters. So it can be absorbed through protective cuticles or cell membranes. It can be ingested through the mouth or inhaled through the lungs. Here's a little visual. Okay, so absorbed through skin or cuticles would be contact. Ingestion would be through the mouth into the digestive system, and inhalation would be breathed in through the mouth into the lungs. Now, once it's entered the body, what is it going to do? And this is known as the mode of action. Okay, so the mode of action describes how a pesticide works. For example, destruction of tissue on contact is a mode of action. Inhibition of photosynthesis, paralysis of nervous system, blocking of cell division, inhibition of enzyme activity or synthesis. So these are all examples of types of mode of action. Pesticides may be contact or systemic. So contact pesticides become effective upon contact with the exposed body or plant parts. Effectiveness is usually immediate. Systemic pesticides, however, they're absorbed and move within the host or pest body to another site where they become effective. Okay, so what is the pesticide label? The pesticide label is a legal document that describes how to apply a pesticide safely and effectively. Here's an example of, of the label of the Weevil-Side. If you look at this peels off and you have a little booklet on the inside. And that's known as the label. Okay, the pesticide label. The pesticide label is a legal document that describes how to apply a pesticide safely and effectively. Okay, so here's an example of a Weevil-Side label. It's quite a thick document. However, half of it is in French, so I guess it's half as thick as it looks. All your chemicals will come with a label. This is a label as well. This will peel off and you'll have some more information on the inside. But usually you'll get a label like this or a little small booklet that will come with your product. Okay, so I guess to re-emphasize, the pesticide label is a legal document that describes how to apply a pesticide safely and effectively. So this is the information you're going to find in a label. So that would be in your booklet. You'll have the product name, directions for use, active ingredients, formulation type, limitations of use, disposal instructions, precautions, class designation, purpose of the pesticide, net contents, toxicological information, hazard symbols, first aid instructions, and manufacturer's name and address. This is all contained in the label, and many of that information is also contained on the outside of the product. Okay. So it's important. All information on the label is important. Okay. It's federally regulated, so it's a federal document, and it is your basically it's your information on how to use this safely and effectively and legally. Okay, so what's the trade name? So the trade name of the product is the brand name that the manufacturer gives a product. So for example, Roundup. Here's a label off the the front of a Roundup container. Roundup is the trade name. The active ingredient is glyphosate. So if you look down on that label, you'll see where it says active ingredient. And it gives you glyphosate, 48.8%. Okay, now that percentage, the 48.8% is what's known as your guarantee. Okay, so your active ingredient is glyphosate with a guarantee of 48.8%. You'll also find the use category. So it could be restricted, commercial, agriculture, industrial, or domestic. For example, the Weevil-Side container is restricted. It says right on it, which means this you are required to have a special license. So this farmer pesticide license with the stored grain endorsement is what will give you the ability to purchase this. Commercial, agricultural, industrial. These are chemicals farmers would be using agriculture out in the field. Commercial would be, for example, commercial industrial would be like our roadside work that we do. And then domestic would be the kind of chemicals you could buy at Walmart, Canadian Tire, these kind of things. And okay, the formulation, we've already talked a little bit about that. Usually the active ingredient is mixed with other chemicals or adjuvants before sale, and the total mixture is known as the formulation, okay? Precaution symbols will be on the label. You can see on here, you've got your skull and crossbones, okay? The hazard warning symbol on the label is the most reliable indicator of the risk level of a pesticide. So when you see that, we're going to talk about symbols, but this symbol here, the skull and crossbones in the stop sign, should shout out to you that, hey, wait a minute, this is dangerous. This is toxic and it's extremely dangerous. Okay. So here are some common symbols you're going to see. You're going to see the skull and crossbones, which determines that it's toxic. Okay. Or you might see a flame, which of course means it's flammable. Skeletonized hand, I mean, it's corrosive, could cause burns, and then explosive. These are some of the, 4 common hazards that you're going to come across. Now, the severity of the hazard is determined by the symbol that they're in. Okay, so for example, like I showed you, this one here is a skull and crossbones in a stop sign. So that's telling us that it's extremely hazardous, extremely toxic. Okay, danger. Diamond shape. Be a moderate hazard, so it's a warning, and then of course in a yield or upside down triangle side would be a slight hazard, so caution. Also on the label, you're going to find what's known as the pest control products number, or the registration number. The PCP number is an applicator's assurance that the product can be used in Canada legally. That's important. If it doesn't have a PCP number, you can't legally use this chemical in Canada. So, if you're getting chemical across the border, you have to make sure that it's also registered to be used in Canada, or you can find yourself in trouble if something goes wrong. The guarantee, I touched on that a little bit. So the guarantee statement identifies the common name and the concentration of the active ingredient in the product. So for example, on the Weevil side, I know this is backwards in the camera, but it says the guarantee is aluminum phosphide, which is the active ingredient, and the guarantee said it's 57%. Okay, that's your guarantee. Net contents, so it indicates how much is in the container. This is a flask of aluminum phosphine pellets. So there's 2,500 pellets or 1.5 kilograms of material. So that is your net content. Okay. It'll also have the name and address of the registrant. So that indicates who made or sold the product. So you look on here and it says United Phosphorus Incorporated. Okay, and it has the address and such. Precautions. These statements indicate the route of entry and type of damage a pesticide would cause upon exposure. For example, may be fatal or cause blindness if swallowed. These are precautions you'll find in labels. Toxicological information indicates types of poisoning symptoms, indicates treatments or antidotes. And also there'll be first aid measures, indicates treatments to perform immediately upon exposure to the pesticide. Directions. This section indicates how to use a pesticide and includes the type of pest the product controls, the use area, where a product is to be used, method and rate of application, phytotoxicity or other injury or staining problems, mixing and loading instructions, application limitations, re-entry buffer zones, pre-harvest intervals, and when to apply it. These would all be contained in the label under directions for use. Storage, disposal, spill cleanup, transportation, and other information is also in the label. There could be specific directions for storage. For example, this chemical, if you've purchased it and you don't need to use it all, like, I would use a whole flask. But if you have extra flasks, they need to be locked up in a secure cabinet or cupboard, or somewhere safe. You'll find directions for disposal, and it's important to know the local regulations because, for example, we have Craddock or Sunshine Seed Cleaning Plant and Border Seed Cleaning Plant. This is where our pesticide containers can be disposed of. Important to know that those containers need to be triple rinsed, and there's certain regulations in place when you're dumping those things there. So it's important to know the local regulations. You're also now these aren't always provided with your chemical. You can get it from the company. You can go online oftentimes to get a copy of the MSDS, Material Safety Data Sheet, or now they even refer to it as SDS, Safety Data Sheet. The MSDS provides additional information about a pesticide product. The MSDS gives information about health hazards, personal safety, and environmental protection. So your general sections that you're going to see on a MSDS or SDS form, your product identification, hazardous ingredients, physical data, occupational procedures, first aid and emergency procedures, fire and explosion hazards, toxicity, health effects, reactivity data. I have that in bold because that is the MSDS is where you're going to find something like reactivity data, okay? Preparation date and group. These are all things that are found on the MSDS. So just take note, reactivity data is something you will find in MSDS. And that concludes Module 1. So I encourage you, as you're doing this at your own pace, review Module 1. There's exercises in there that I would encourage you to go through and try to answer in preparation for writing the test, if you're required to do so. And yeah, that's Module 1. So prepare to move on to Module 2.